Welcome to this training brought to you by the North San Diego County Realtors, where we take real-world case interpretations published by the National Association of Realtors and turn them into practical learning moments that reinforce the Realtor Code of Ethics in action. Today's focus: knowledge of proposed legislation from Case Interpretation 1-19 under Article 1 of the Realtor Code of Ethics. At the heart of Article 1 is the commitment to always act in your client's best interest. This means staying informed, not just about what's on the property, but what's happening around it. Market conditions, zoning changes, proposed legislation, all of these can significantly affect property value. Failing to stay current with that kind of information can result in your client being financially harmed and you being found in violation of the Code of Ethics. And that's exactly what happened in this next case.
Realtor A received a letter from the ABC College in another city stating that one of its old graduates in Realtor A's city had willed a vacant property in that community to the college. The letter explained that the college had no use for the property and wanted Realtor A to sell it at its fair market value. The proceeds would go to the endowment fund of the college. Realtor A suggested a price for the property, an exclusive listing contract was executed, and in less than a month, the lot was sold and settlement made with the college. 2 weeks later, a trustee of the college who handled its investments filed a complaint against Realtor A, charging negligence in knowledge of proposed local legislation which had resulted in sale of the property at approximately 1/8 of its fair market value. The grievance committee referred it for hearing before a panel of the Professional Standards Committee. The Professional Standards Committee scheduled a hearing and notified Realtor A and the college trustee to be present. The hearing developed these facts. 1. The client's property was in an area which had been approved for rezoning from residential to commercial use in a general revision of the local zoning map and ordinance that was in preparation. 2. Although specific sections of the revisions, including the section involving the lot in question, had been tentatively approved, final approval had not been given to the complete revision at the time of the sale. But this action had been taken a few days following the sale. For several months prior to the sale, there had been a public notice of the proposal to rezone affixed to a sign near one corner of the property. 3. In his one inspection of the property, Realtor A had not noticed the sign. 4. Other sales in the rezoned area substantiated the client's belief that the shift to commercial zoning supported a value at approximately 8 times the price received for the lot. Realtor A's defense was that the ordinance putting the rezoning into effect had not been enacted at the date of his sale of the client's property, and that he had no knowledge at the time of the rezoning's proposal. The hearing panel's conclusion was that Realtor A had violated Article 1 and was definitely deficient in his professional obligations in this instance. That before suggesting a price to his client, he should have checked the property carefully enough to have seen the notice concerning a proposal for rezoning, and that as a realtor active in the area, he should have been aware of the extensive changes that were being proposed in his city's zoning ordinance. Such knowledge was within his obligation under Article 1 to protect the best interests of his client.
Realtor A was asked to sell a vacant lot donated to a college's endowment. The property was listed, marketed, and sold in less than a month. But here's the problem. The lot was in a neighborhood undergoing major zoning changes, from residential to commercial use. There was even a public notice posted on the corner of the property, but Realtor A didn't see it and didn't know about the proposed rezoning. The sale closed quickly, and a few weeks later, the college learned that the property should have been worth 8 times what they received. That discovery led to a formal ethics complaint. During the hearing, Realtor A acknowledged that he had missed the posted signage and didn't know about the proposed zoning changes. But the panel noted that rezoning had been publicly announced for months, and Realtor A, who regularly worked in the area, should have been aware. No one expected Realtor A to predict the future, but they did expect him to stay informed about what was already happening in the community, especially changes that could significantly impact value. The hearing panel ultimately found Realtor A in violation of Article 1. Why? Because his actions, or in this case his lack of awareness, resulted in substantial financial harm to the client. First, he failed to observe the public notice that had been posted on the property for several months. That notice clearly indicated a proposed zoning change, something that would have directly and significantly increased the value of the land. Second, he didn't investigate or inquire about any local planning or legislative updates, even though these changes had already been tentatively approved and were widely discussed in the area. Finally, as a professional working in that market, the panel concluded that Realtor A should have known about the impending zoning revisions. His failure to do so showed a lack of diligence and a failure to protect his client's best interest. Being unaware wasn't just unfortunate, it was considered a violation of his ethical duty under Article 1. Ethics isn't just about honesty, it's also about competence and preparedness. Clients trust realtors to be informed professionals. If there's legislation or zoning news that could impact property value, it's your duty to know and disclose it. Even if you didn't intend to harm the client, a lack of diligence can still lead to an ethics violation. So before pricing property or advising a client, ask the right questions, check local plans, and do your homework. This case raises important questions about professional diligence, especially when pricing property for a client. If you were in Realtor A's position, what kind of research would you have done before suggesting a price? Would you have reviewed pending zoning updates, public meeting agendas, or the local planning commission's notices? Think about your own market areas. How often do you check for proposed zoning changes or land use amendments that could significantly affect property values? In dynamic markets, staying current isn't just helpful, it's essential. What local resources do you rely on to stay informed? City planning departments, zoning boards, or community development portals often publish valuable updates if you know where to look. And lastly, consider the risk of relying solely on a quick visual inspection. A missed sign, like in this case, could mean overlooking a major value driver or liability. The ethical takeaway is clear. Your clients rely on your expertise, not just your eyes. Thanks for joining us for this short case interpretation review. Stay sharp, stay ethical, and remember, your client's trust is earned and protected through your knowledge, your diligence, and your actions. For more real-world training and resources, visit www.youtube.com/@NSDC Realtors.